told him how to make big great. 3 powers. Flag. Square. Square microphone. Without click. I time part. Which this flag. I have this dragon. 70 years. 70 years later. Later. 70 years later. 70 years later. Breaks. Okay. Jelly. Speed. Oh Jesus. I have 100. Open as dilute 70 years later. Dilute. Open. Dilute. Yes. 70 years later. The boxer free on. Pace. Read 70 years later. Music. Shoot. That is neither the chest never. 7. The 70 years later. Smoke. 70 years later. 70 years. 1 power 70 years later. Brooks move the arm on Kinemaster. 70 years later. You shopping. 70 years later. So okay. 80 star. Open it started 70 years later. Open the electric equals 745% refund on Kinemaster. Super fun. That means bar. No. Target speed. No hits. Has different. Therefore, it is even I have to the 2001. 70 years later.
What's your sernica?
Who and the guy? 70 years later. Spoke. 70 years. 70. 70 years later. 70 years later. 70 years. 70 years later. 70 years later. What? Say, monsters. Plus 11. 70 years later. Open and pick the card. 15 Philippines, like 20 and 50 and 3. Open at 70 years later. Theory and later 70 years. And stop.
Я быстренько. Давай. Ага. С вас причитается.
270 years. There are late. The 32. Secrets. Great. 70 years later. Separate. Forest.
Я вообще с вами пишу.
Stand. Delete. One mini. Steph. Correct. That's 70 years later.
Ну вот, собственно, где-то здесь.
The thought of a time hurts.
Хорошо,
32.
вашу палку привела. Не пришел.
70 years later.
Here fields. 8 minutes.
Сейчас и начинай.
The guys.
Давай забудем. Так что...
Delete. Yes.
Давай. Спасибо вам.
It's worried. Hey, Eric.
Принимай
Big
пополнение.
stress.
Хорошо.
Worried. 70 years later, 8 minutes. 3.5. Kill 7. 70 years later. 3.74. Wait. 70 years later. 70 years later. 70 years later. Well done. 8 minutes.